And good morning, everybody. I am 10 Tampa Bay meteorologist Rich Fields here in the 10 Tampa Bay newsroom. We have just gotten, 25 minutes ago, we got the 11 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center out of Miami with the latest on what is now Tropical Storm Ian, located about 575 miles southeast of western Cuba right now, moving west-northwest at about 14 miles an hour. Slowed down just a little bit. Sustained wind still at 50 miles an hour, gusts still at 65 miles an hour. Oh, let's check out the tropics and show you what's going on. There's a couple of systems out there still lingering. This Invest 99L is starting to peter out, it looks like. But for the most part, we are mostly concerned with what's going on with Ian here. All right, so let me get my graphics working. Let's see what's going on here. Hang on a second. Don't go away. Don't anybody move. I will let you see. I will let you watch me struggle with getting graphics going here. Well, is my keyboard not working? That's it. My keyboard's not working. All right, so there are the particulars that I was just going through with you. Central pressure has not dropped since the 5 a.m. update. So watching the central pressure drop always is a good indication that the storm is growing and getting bigger. We don't just necessarily go on wind speeds or anything like that. So the National Hurricane Center has it 300 miles south-southeast of Grand Cayman, or 570 miles southeast of western Cuba. And all of western Cuba right now is under a hurricane warning, and this thing is beelining toward the Gulf of Mexico as we speak. So let's go in a little closer on Ian and take a look what's going on. You can see where she's located. You can see Jamaica there. You can see the Cayman Islands. You can see Cuba up to the top of the screen as well. And you might be able to make out the classic counterclockwise rotation that we look for in these kinds of systems. All areas of low pressure spin counterclockwise, and as you watch the loop, you can start to make out that coalescing of the bands and that counterclockwise circulation of Ian. Let's go in a little closer. I'm going to take a look at the winds, and there you go. Now you can clearly see the rotation, the counterclockwise rotation of what is Tropical Storm Ian at this hour. Let's back out a little bit and go through some of the tropical alerts. Cayman Islands are under a hurricane warning right now. All of western Cuba under a hurricane warning. Portions of west central Cuba under a tropical storm warning at this hour, as Ian is expected to traverse that area shortly. And I mentioned this yesterday, I'll mention it again. A lot of folks on the internet are saying, oh, when it hits Cuba, it's going to die out or it's going to weaken. And we don't see that happening, actually. We don't see that happening in the models. We don't see that as a factor at all. Cuba's at least the western edge of Cuba is relatively flat. There's no topography there, no mountains to slow this thing down at all. And the western edge of Cuba is so thin, it's like it's like blowing across Pinellas County. I mean, it's a very thin little piece of the island. So Ian is not going to slow down at all crossing Cuba. Ian is actually going to be a fairly strong hurricane as it crosses Cuba. Let's talk about the reasons why we expect it to pick up speed and intensity, and it all happens right here in the western part of the Caribbean. This deep well of very warm water. There's Cuba right there. There's the western edge of Cuba at the end of that pointer right there, and this is where we expect Ian to cross, right over this tiny little spit of land of Cuba after it has left Jamaica and the Caymans and has entered this very deep well of warm water. Hurricanes like warm water. They love it. They feed off it. They thrive off of it. And this is not just surface warmth. This is very deep. A lot of energy to tap into. And Ian is, I almost said Ian is going to feed off of this and grow and strengthen, for sure. So let's put things into motion here. I'm going to show you what's going on with regard to this heat content. As it passes over there, we expect it to go from about a Cat 1 to Cat 2, maybe more, and head into the Gulf of Mexico. And from there, we start seeing a little bit of difference in the spaghetti plots. That would be the Euro. These would be the GFS. And we'll talk about the differences here in a second. So there's the cone of uncertainty right there, probably a Category 2 from the National Hurricane Center out of Miami now. As it passes over, remember that deep well of warm water right here, it's going to go from a 1 to a 2 and then pass over the very tip, the western tip of Cuba, and really pick up energy as it does and turn into a Category 4 major hurricane passing over the tip of Cuba at 3, a 4. By Wednesday morning, really heading into the Gulf of Mexico as a Category 4 hurricane. And we expect it to be off the coast of Tampa Bay, well, anywhere in this cone of uncertainty actually, as a Category 2 hurricane. Let me back out a little bit so you can see some of the timing if you're really taking a look at the particular days and wind speeds there. So again, as it passes over Cuba, we could see sustained winds at about 120 miles an hour. That would be Tuesday morning. Tuesday night, it will have entered the Gulf of Mexico, picked up energy and speed, sustained winds at about 120 miles an hour. That's Tuesday morning, I'm sorry, 130 miles an hour. That's still Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, 130 mile an hour winds as it starts to approach our neck of the woods here. So let's compare the models. When we talk about models, we talk about the GFS, which is really sort of the United States or the American models that they run, and then there's the European models, pretty self-explanatory there. But the GFS is going to be a white X on your screen. The European's going to be a yellow X on your screen. And this is the latest now from the National Hurricane Center, and this is how it's going to play out, at least for now. This could change, is going to change, for better or for worse. But we're still 72 hours or more out from this particular storm. So there's where the two models start to separate. Pardon me, right at the tip of Cuba. I'll go full screen on that for you so you can check it out. The two models start to separate a little bit as it crosses over the western edge of Cuba. This all under hurricane warning right now. Putting it back into motion, let's watch where these models compare or differentiate. There you go. By Wednesday night, 8 p.m., the European has it entering the state of Florida, right about at Sarasota. The GFS in white, that X right there, has the storm more central Gulf of Mexico heading north. But hang on, because let's advance just a little bit further. As we go into Friday morning, it has crossed right through the Tampa Bay area on the European. It has crossed right through the Tampa Bay area and is headed up toward the Jacksonville area and portions of Georgia, and eventually might even skirt back out into the water into the Atlantic and skirt up the coast. It might stay on land and start to fizzle out. Nonetheless, that's the Euro. The GFS has it making landfall in the Panhandle of the state of Florida. Let's talk about tropical storm wind probabilities. The purple on your screen are obviously going to be the center of the highest wind speeds, and the timing of which, as you can see, by Wednesday morning, 8 a.m., we are right on the edge of starting to receive those tropical storm wind speeds, if not hurricane force by then. By Wednesday night, it's Wednesday morning, by Wednesday night, still hanging around the Tampa Bay area, more like up through the Nature Coast, very high wind speeds expected. So not only can we expect high winds, we can expect copious amounts of rain, urban flooding. We are going to be, if the GFS rings true, we are going to be on the right side of the storm. And it's that right front quadrant of the storm, of any hurricane, that's the worst. It has the highest wind speeds, the highest rainfall, the highest tornado potential, and certainly the highest storm surge. So the graphic I have up on your screen right now, and I'll go full screen with it, is just a little bit of a timeline. It may look confusing, pardon me, but we'll all get used to this in the next couple of days as we keep seeing it. Let's talk about wind speeds for the Tampa Bay area. Now, we'll start to see small amounts of tropical storm force winds as early as Tuesday evening. Look at this, by Wednesday morning, they really start to ramp up. By Wednesday night, we're talking critical through Thursday morning, Wednesday night through Thursday morning, even on into Thursday night. Very high winds. Rain, flooding. Could see 7 inches of rain or more with some of the outer bands. The green here indicates that we could start seeing that rainfall as early as Tuesday morning into Tuesday night. Then the rain starts ramping up Wednesday morning into Wednesday night, and then gets to critical stages Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. Tornado activity, that could start ramping up, especially with this storm being off the coast. If it stays off the coast, we could see water spouts turn into tornadoes as they make landfall. Go back to the screen again. As early as, again, with some of the outer bands, as early as Tuesday morning, Tuesday night. By Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, we start to see the probability of tornado activity go way up. Wednesday night into Thursday morning, now we're in that critical stage. We're talking about the greatest threats in the box that you see highlighted on your screen right now. Wednesday night through Thursday morning into Thursday night for everything, not just tornadoes, the flooding, the wind, and storm surge we will see start to pick up early Wednesday morning into Wednesday night, and then you get to critical stages, greatest threat, Thursday morning into Thursday night. And Grant Gilmore and I did mornings together the last couple of mornings, and we were sitting looking at some of the storm surge possibilities. If the storm stays offshore, remember a storm rotates in a counterclockwise manner, so just envision yourself like on the Skyway Bridge heading north from Sarasota into St. Petersburg. So I'm just using that as sort of a visual in your head. So you're heading across the Skyway Bridge, and the storm is off to your left. It's out to the west. It's out in the Gulf of Mexico. With the way the storm rotates in a counterclockwise manner, it's going to be pushing winds and water, the surge, right up Tampa Bay, right up into Tampa Bay, and as far as it can get before it hits land. And as far as it can get would be North Tampa Bay into Old Oldsmar Bay. And the numbers right now are saying that North Tampa Bay and Oldsmar Bay may see storm surge to 9.4, 9.5 feet. So I was also looking at some tides for Pinellas County, just to use it as a benchmark. And tides Thursday morning, the high tide is going to be 3 feet above mean high tide anyway. It's an extreme high tide anyway, just as this storm is starting to move in the area. Don't want to be the bearer of bad news, just want you to be ready or to know in your head what the potential possibilities are. Is that saying the same thing? What the potential is, what the possibilities are for storm surge here in the Tampa Bay area. Not just the winds, not just the tropical storm force winds or hurricane force winds, not just the rainfall, 7 inches or more, not just the tornadoes, but the storm surge. The number one killer with regard to hurricanes, class, storm surge. Storm surge. So, you know, a lot of other things we can protect ourselves against. Storm surge is difficult, very difficult. So when you're told to evacuate, evacuate. As a matter of fact, the governor, I believe he's got a press conference coming up shortly, might be talking about an evacuation plan already. So up on your screen now are the three main takeaways we want you to take away from this broadcast or from the storm itself. Number one, Ian likely rapidly intensifies today. 2, a major hurricane is likely approaching the state of Florida. We know that. We know that with all the models. Sure, there's a varying and a little difference in some of the models between the GFS and the European. European has it coming right across Tampa Bay. The GFS has it out in the Gulf. Again, all this is going to change with every successive run the next few days as we get closer to what is now Tropical Storm Ian. The third thing, significant Florida impacts expected. The exact areas is still unclear. If it makes landfall anywhere from the Nature Coast northward, the storm surge through Tampa Bay could be fairly high. So start your preps now. If you didn't heed the advice yesterday, start today. I know stores are struggling to keep supplies. We had a live shot today with Chris out at, where was he today? I think he was at Home Depot yesterday. He was showing us bare shelves in grocery stores already. So get the supplies you need to last yourself a few days, know your plan, know where you're going to go to high ground if you're in one of these evacuation zones that are going to come up. Certainly coastal communities are going to be evacuated. That's going to happen. It's going to happen, and it's probably going to happen fairly soon. So we just want you to be prepared to know what's on the way, folks, okay? Let's hope it passes us by. Let's hope it's a moot point for all of us. But today is going to be fairly benign weather-wise, much like it was yesterday, maybe a little more cloud cover today, but still mostly sunny with an isolated shower. Mostly south of I-4. Our rain chances today here in the greater Tampa Bay area are only at 20%. We topped out at 91 yesterday. We're looking for 91 again for the daytime high today. Same for Monday. Higher rain chances. Tuesday, our rain chances go up to 70% chance of rain. And then as the storm really starts to approach and get into our neighborhood, Wednesday, Thursday, we're talking 90 to 100% chance of rain. The storm will have passed by Friday morning, midday. Rain chances start going down. Outer bands are still wrapping back in. By Saturday, I think, whoops, not what I wanted. By Saturday, I think we'll be out of the woods altogether with regard to this storm. So we got a couple of days to get ready. Just want you to be filled in on what is a possibility. Let me go to our, and by the way, we're going to see about unlocking our YouTube chat. There's a lot of folks on YouTube, I think some 3,000 right now watching me right now on YouTube. And but let me go to Facebook where I know it's unlocked, and a lot of people chime in with questions and see if there's anything pertinent or questions that I can answer. Actually, you know what? The governor's on right now, and we're live streaming that. So let me wrap this up for you right now, and let's just go to the live stream of Governor DeSantis. Our next news broadcast is at 11 o'clock here at 10 Tampa Bay, but you can get tropical information anytime, 24/7 at 10. Governor's over at 10tampabay.com. Okay, they told me the governor's over. Can I see the chat now? Rishan, is the chat available to look at? I couldn't. Yeah, for Facebook. I couldn't get to it because the governor was being streamed as well. Oh, there we go. I see it now. Thank you. All right. I see it. All right. Brian Godfrey. I don't like the European model, he says. We're right there with you, my friend. A lot of prayers being sent out. Family in Tampa and Sebring. Sharon Tooley, she's on the East Coast near Cape Kennedy, which they scrubbed the launch, didn't they, yesterday? What about Davenport, Lakeland? Well, you know, inland communities, huge amounts of rain. Pardon me, and localized street flooding, urban flooding. The whole, not just street, we've had so much rain lately, the ground is saturated. So any rain we do get is going to be runoff. We're going to see an overtaxing of not the sewers, it's the tip of my tongue, the drainage. We're going to see it backing up the street drainage and any kind of ability to get rid of the rainfall. So inland areas, you may not be dealing with storm surge, but remember Lakeland, if this storm, regardless, if the European model rings true and it comes up through the Sarasota area or anywhere north of Naples and Tampa Bay, in between there anywhere, inland communities are going to be on the right side of the storm. And I don't mean right by the good side, I mean the right side of the storm with respect to the storm's direction. So if it's moving up the state of Florida, inland communities are going to be on the right side of the storm. And the right side of the storm, that right front quadrant of the storm, relative to the storm's motion, highest number of tornadoes, highest winds, highest rainfall. You don't have the storm surge to deal with, but certainly for coastal communities, the highest storm surge. Let's see here, Desiree, I'm sorry. Somebody talking to somebody else. Not a question for me. A lot of folks on here. Wow, so many. Well, good. We want to get everybody up to date on what's going on. Joni McAlpin, Carrie Albert, Brian Hildebrand, thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. All right, no real weather questions for me, so I'm going to let you go. I need to get back to work anyway. A lot going on. The next run, or excuse me, the next release of tropical information from the National Hurricane Center in Miami will come up at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We will see then how the models differ or how much they're the same. We'll compare those then. Again, you can go on our webpage anytime you want, 10tampabay.com, big tropical section. All the maps are being automatically updated constantly. All the runs are being updated constantly. So check us out there. And in the meantime, we will see you next on TV.